the middle of the night, when most people are deep in sleep, Sarah Martinez sits in a windowless room filled with glowing screens and crackling radio static. Her job sounds simple enough. She's just a radio operator. She answers calls, relays messages, and coordinates communications between military units scattered across dangerous territories. But what happens when the voices on the other end of her radio suddenly go silent? What happens when America's most elite fighting force, SEAL Team 6, finds themselves trapped behind enemy lines with no way out? What happens when the only thing standing between life and death for these warriors is the voice of a woman they've never met, sitting thousands of miles away in a bunker? This is the story of how Sarah Martinez went from being just a radio operator to becoming the guardian angel who saved one of the most decorated special operations teams in military history. It's a story about split-second decisions, unwavering courage, and how sometimes the most unlikely heroes emerge from the shadows when everything is on the line. Because when bullets start flying and communications go dark, being just the radio operator means you're the last hope for heroes who need a miracle. Sarah Martinez never imagined that her voice would one day be the lifeline for America's most elite warriors. Growing up in a small town in Texas, she was the kind of person who preferred listening to talking, always the one her friends turned to when they needed someone to really hear them. Her father, a retired Army sergeant, used to joke that she had radio ears because she could pick up on conversations from 3 rooms away. When Sarah joined the military at 19, she scored exceptionally high on communication and technical aptitude tests. The recruiter suggested she consider becoming a radio operator, explaining that it was a crucial support role that kept soldiers connected across vast distances. It sounded perfect for someone who valued precision and helping others, even if it meant working behind the scenes. After completing her training at Fort Gordon, Sarah was assigned to a classified communication center at a secure military installation. The facility looked ordinary from the outside, just another concrete building surrounded by chain-link fences. But inside, it housed some of the most sophisticated communication equipment in the world, connecting military operations across multiple continents. The communication center operated around the clock, with operators working in 12-hour shifts. Sarah's station consisted of multiple radio systems, encrypted communication devices, and computer terminals that allowed her to coordinate with various military units simultaneously. The room hummed with constant activity as operators maintained contact with troops deployed in dozens of locations worldwide. During her first few months, Sarah primarily handled routine communications for conventional military units. She relayed supply requests, coordinated transportation, and maintained regular check-ins with base commanders. The work required intense concentration and absolute accuracy, as even a small miscommunication could have serious consequences for soldiers in the field. Sarah quickly earned a reputation for her exceptional attention to detail and calm demeanor under pressure. Her supervisors noticed that she had an unusual ability to remain focused during high-stress situations, never allowing her emotions to interfere with her professional duties. She spoke clearly and precisely, using proper military communication protocols without ever sounding robotic or impersonal. As months passed, Sarah began handling increasingly sensitive communications. She was granted higher security clearances and trained on specialized equipment used for classified operations. Her station was equipped with encrypted satellite communication systems that could reach the most remote locations on Earth, providing a vital link between command centers and special operations forces. The nature of her work meant that Sarah often knew about military operations before they were announced to the public. She maintained communications with reconnaissance teams gathering intelligence in hostile territories, coordinated with air support during combat missions, and served as a communication relay for units operating in areas with limited infrastructure. One aspect of the job that particularly appealed to Sarah was the human element. While she never met the soldiers she communicated with, she began recognizing their voices and call signs. She learned to identify the subtle changes in tone that indicated stress, fatigue, or excitement. Over time, she developed an almost intuitive understanding of what different units needed, often anticipating requests before they were made. Sarah's shift typically began at 1800 hours and continued until 0600 the following morning. She preferred working nights because the communication center was quieter, allowing her to focus more intently on the various radio channels she monitored. The overnight hours also coincided with peak operational activity in many overseas locations due to time zone differences. Her workstation was equipped with 6 different radio systems, each tuned to specific frequencies used by different types of military units. She wore a specialized headset that allowed her to monitor multiple channels simultaneously while maintaining the ability to quickly switch between conversations. A complex array of buttons, switches, and digital displays enabled her to control various aspects of the communication systems. The most challenging part of Sarah's job was managing multiple simultaneous communications during periods of high operational activity. She might be coordinating a supply delivery for one unit, while simultaneously providing weather updates to an aviation squadron and relaying intelligence reports to a command center. Each conversation required her complete attention, yet she had to maintain awareness of all ongoing communications. Sarah developed her own system for managing the constant flow of information. She used different colored pens to track various operations on a large whiteboard mounted above her workstation. Important messages were logged in a secure computer system, while routine communications were handled through standard protocols. Her organizational skills became legendary among her colleagues. The communication center maintained strict protocols for handling classified information. All conversations were recorded and stored in secure databases. Operators underwent regular security reviews, and access to certain communication channels required additional authorization. Sarah took these responsibilities seriously, understanding that operational security could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. During quieter periods, Sarah would review communication protocols and study technical manuals to improve her skills. She was particularly interested in learning about the different types of military units she supported, understanding their specific missions and communication requirements. This knowledge helped her provide more effective assistance when urgent situations arose. The facility where Sarah worked supported a wide range of military operations, from humanitarian missions to combat operations. She handled communications for Army infantry units, Navy ships, Air Force squadrons, and Marine Expeditionary Forces. Each service branch had its own communication procedures and terminology, requiring Sarah to be fluent in multiple military languages. One of the most specialized aspects of Sarah's job involved supporting Special Operations Forces. These elite units operated with maximum secrecy and required communication support that was both secure and reliable. Special Operations communications were handled through separate, highly encrypted channels that required additional training and security clearances. Sarah had been working in the Communication Center for almost 2 years when she was selected for advanced training in Special Operations communication support. This specialized program taught operators how to handle the unique requirements of elite military units operating in high-risk environments. The training was intensive and highly classified, covering advanced encryption techniques, emergency communication procedures, and crisis management protocols. The course instructor, a veteran Special Operations officer, explained that Special Operations units often operated in situations where normal communication channels were compromised or unavailable. Radio operators supporting these missions needed to be creative problem solvers who could maintain contact under the most challenging circumstances. They also needed to understand that their voice might be the only connection these warriors had to the outside world. After completing the advanced training, Sarah was assigned to a specialized communication station equipped with the most sophisticated radio equipment available. This station was used exclusively for supporting Special Operations missions, requiring operators to maintain constant vigilance and readiness to handle emergency situations at any hour. The Special Operations Communication Station was isolated from the main communication center, located in a separate room with additional security measures. Access was restricted to personnel with the highest security clearances, and all activities were subject to enhanced monitoring and documentation. The atmosphere was noticeably more intense than the general communication center. Sarah's new responsibilities included maintaining contact with various Special Operations units deployed worldwide. She supported Navy SEALs conducting maritime operations, Army Rangers performing reconnaissance missions, and Air Force Special Operations squadrons providing tactical air support. Each unit had specific communication requirements based on their mission profile and operational environment. The Special Operations units Sarah supported operated under extremely dangerous conditions, often in hostile territory where discovery could result in capture or death. These warriors depended on secure communication links to coordinate with command centers, request support, and report mission status. Sarah understood that her role, while seemingly routine, was absolutely critical to their survival and mission success. Working with Special Operations Forces required Sarah to develop new skills beyond basic radio operation. She learned to interpret subtle verbal cues that might indicate a unit was under stress or facing unexpected challenges. She became proficient in various coded communication systems that allowed sensitive information to be transmitted without revealing operational details to potential enemies. The equipment Sarah used for Special Operations support was significantly more advanced than standard military radio systems. The radios were capable of frequency hopping to avoid detection, transmitted through multiple satellite networks for redundancy, and incorporated sophisticated encryption that made intercepted communications virtually impossible to decode. The complexity of these systems required extensive training and constant practice. Sarah's typical shift in the Special Operations Communications Center involved monitoring multiple channels simultaneously while maintaining detailed logs of all communications. She coordinated with other communication centers worldwide to ensure seamless coverage for units operating across different time zones. Her station was equipped with backup power systems and redundant communication paths to ensure continuous operation even during emergencies. The pace of work in the Special Operations Center was often unpredictable. There might be hours of routine status reports followed by sudden bursts of intense activity when missions encountered unexpected challenges. Sarah learned to maintain a state of controlled readiness, always prepared to handle whatever situation might develop. One aspect of supporting special operations that particularly impressed Sarah was the professionalism and competence of the warriors she communicated with. These soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines represented the absolute pinnacle of military training and dedication. Their voices conveyed confidence and determination even in the most dangerous situations. Sarah began to recognize the call signs and voices of specific special operations units. She learned that Alpha Team preferred brief, direct communications, while Bravo Team's leader had a slight southern accent and always concluded transmissions with "Stay vigilant." Charlie Team operated primarily during daylight hours and maintained an unusually high frequency of status reports. The most elite of all the units Sarah supported was SEAL Team 6, officially known as the Naval Special Warfare Development Group. This legendary unit handled the most sensitive and dangerous missions, operating with a level of secrecy that exceeded even other special operations forces. Communications with SEAL Team 6 required additional security protocols and was subject to enhanced oversight. SEAL Team 6's missions were planned at the highest levels of military and government leadership. The team members were selected from the most experienced and capable SEALs, undergoing additional training that prepared them for operations that other units couldn't handle. When SEAL Team 6 was deployed, the entire Special Operations Communication Center focused on providing them with flawless support. Sarah had been supporting Special Operations Communications for 6 months, when she first handled a transmission from SEAL Team 6. The team was conducting a classified operation in a remote location, and they needed to coordinate with multiple support elements. The complexity of the communication requirements tested all of Sarah's skills and training. The SEAL Team 6 operators she communicated with were notably professional and precise in their transmissions. They used minimal words to convey maximum information, never wasting time with unnecessary chatter. Their communications revealed a level of tactical sophistication that impressed even experienced operators like Sarah. As Sarah continued working with various special operations units, she developed a deep appreciation for the risks these warriors faced every day. They operated in the world's most dangerous places, often with minimal support and maximum exposure to enemy forces. The communication link she provided was sometimes their only connection to safety and reinforcement. The responsibility Sarah felt toward the special operations forces she supported grew stronger with each successful mission. She understood that her professional competence could directly impact whether these heroes returned home safely to their families. This knowledge motivated her to constantly improve her skills and maintain the highest possible standards of performance. Sarah's dedication to excellence didn't go unnoticed by her supervisors. She received commendations for her outstanding performance and was selected for additional training opportunities. Her personnel file reflected consistent ratings of exceptional performance, and she was considered one of the communication center's most reliable operators. The communication center where Sarah worked operated under the principle that every transmission could be critical to mission success and personnel safety. This philosophy created an environment where attention to detail and professional excellence were not just encouraged but absolutely required. Sarah thrived in this demanding atmosphere. As Sarah's experience with special operations communications continued to grow, she began to understand the subtle rhythms and patterns of different types of missions. She could often predict when a unit might need additional support based on their communication patterns and the length of time since their last status report. This intuitive understanding made her even more effective in her role. The training Sarah received for supporting special operations included instruction in crisis communication management. She learned specific procedures for handling emergency situations, including protocols for coordinating rescue operations and managing communications when units were under attack. These skills would soon prove more valuable than anyone could have imagined. Sarah's shift on what would become one of the most important nights of her life began like any other. She arrived at the communication center 30 minutes before her scheduled start time, reviewed the current operational status, and prepared her workstation for the 12-hour shift ahead. She had no way of knowing that before the night was over, she would face the ultimate test of her skills, training, and courage. The night of March 15th started with routine communications and standard status reports from various special operations units deployed across 3 different time zones. Sarah settled into her workstation at 1800, methodically checking each radio system and verifying that all encrypted communication channels were functioning properly. The communication center hummed with its usual quiet intensity as operators maintained contact with military forces around the globe. At 21:30 hours, Sarah received notification that SEAL Team 6 had initiated a high-priority mission in a mountainous region known for heavy enemy activity. The operation was designated as time-sensitive and high-value, military terminology that indicated the mission was both urgent and extremely important to national security interests. Sarah's responsibility was to maintain constant communication availability for the team and coordinate with various support elements as needed. The initial communications from SEAL Team 6 were routine and professional. The team leader, using the call sign Neptune Actual, provided regular status updates as the team moved toward their objective. His voice conveyed the calm confidence that Sarah had come to associate with the most elite special operations forces. The team was making good progress through difficult terrain under cover of darkness. SEAL Team 6 consisted of 12 operators divided into 3 fire teams of 4 members each. Each fire team had a specific role in the mission. Alpha Team would secure the primary objective, Bravo Team would provide overwatch and security, and Charlie Team would handle extraction and communications. The coordination required between these elements demanded flawless communication support from Sarah's station. As the mission progressed, Sarah coordinated between SEAL Team 6 and multiple support elements. She relayed weather updates from meteorological services, provided real-time intelligence reports from reconnaissance assets, and maintained contact with aviation units standing by to provide emergency support if needed. Her workstation displayed a complex array of information streams that she had to monitor simultaneously. At 23:47 hours, Sarah received a transmission that made her blood run cold. Neptune Actual's voice came through her headset with an urgency she had never heard before. Base, this is Neptune Actual.
We have encountered unexpected enemy resistance. Request immediate tactical air support at grid coordinates. The transmission cut off abruptly in a burst of static and automatic weapon fire.
Sarah immediately attempted to re-establish contact with SEAL Team 6, following emergency communication protocols she had trained for but never hoped to use. She switched to backup communication channels and increased transmission power to maximum levels. Her attempts to reach the team were met with silence broken only by occasional bursts of static that indicated their radio equipment was still functioning but possibly damaged. The communication center's emergency procedures went into immediate effect. Sarah's supervisor, Master Sergeant Rodriguez, took position at a workstation beside her to provide additional support. Other operators began coordinating with intelligence services and aviation units to develop a complete picture of the situation SEAL Team 6 was facing. The atmosphere in the center became intensely focused as everyone understood that American lives hung in the balance. Sarah continued attempting to establish communication with SEAL Team 6 using every available channel and technique. She tried different frequencies, adjusted transmission power levels, and used various coded signals designed to penetrate enemy jamming attempts. Her hands moved swiftly across the control panel while her voice remained calm and professional despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. At 0015 hours, Sarah finally received a weak transmission from one of the SEAL operators. The voice was strained and punctuated by the sound of gunfire. Base, this is Neptune Bravo. 2. Team is split up, heavy enemy contact, need immediate extraction. The transmission faded into static before Sarah could respond, but it provided crucial information about the team's status. The fragmentary transmission revealed that SEAL Team 6 had encountered a much larger enemy force than intelligence reports had indicated. The team had been forced to split into smaller elements to avoid being overrun, and they were now scattered across a wide area under heavy enemy fire. The mountainous terrain was interfering with their communications and making coordination between team elements extremely difficult. Sarah worked frantically to establish more reliable contact with the scattered SEAL operators. She coordinated with satellite communication specialists to boost signal strength and use directional antennas to focus transmission power toward the team's last known location. Her technical expertise and desperate determination gradually began to improve the quality of communications with the embattled warriors. Over the next 2 hours, Sarah managed to establish intermittent contact with various members of SEAL Team 6. She learned that the team leader, Neptune Actual, had been wounded during the initial enemy contact and was unable to communicate. The team's senior enlisted operator, Neptune Bravo 1, had assumed command and was attempting to coordinate the scattered elements while under constant enemy pressure. The tactical situation SEAL Team 6 faced was becoming increasingly desperate. Enemy forces had surrounded their position and were using the mountainous terrain to their advantage, making it extremely difficult for the SEALs to break out or establish a defensible position. The team's ammunition was running low, and several operators had been wounded during the prolonged firefight. Sarah became the primary communication link between the scattered SEAL operators and the various support elements working to rescue them. She coordinated between the team members who were out of radio contact with each other, relayed their positions to incoming support aircraft, and provided critical intelligence about enemy movements gathered from reconnaissance assets monitoring the battle. The complexity of managing multiple simultaneous communications while under extreme time pressure tested every aspect of Sarah's training and experience. She had to maintain contact with 3 separated groups of SEAL operators, coordinate with close air support aircraft, communicate with intelligence analysts, and work with extraction helicopter crews all at the same time. At 0230 hours, Sarah received devastating news from Neptune Bravo 1. Base, we're running critically low on ammunition. Charlie element is cut off and taking heavy casualties. Need immediate extraction or we're not going to make it out of here. The desperation in the SEAL's voice was evident despite his professional training and discipline. The extraction helicopter crews were facing their own challenges. The mountainous terrain and enemy anti-aircraft weapons made it extremely dangerous to approach SEAL Team 6's position. The pilots needed precise coordinates and real-time intelligence about enemy positions to have any chance of successfully rescuing the embattled operators. Sarah realized that she was becoming more than just a radio operator. She was becoming the nerve center for a complex rescue operation involving multiple aircraft, ground units, and intelligence assets. Her ability to coordinate between these various elements while maintaining contact with the endangered SEALs was crucial to the mission's success. Using her detailed knowledge of communication protocols and tactical procedures, Sarah began coordinating a sophisticated rescue plan. She worked with air support commanders to identify the best approach routes for extraction helicopters, coordinated with intelligence analysts to track enemy movements, and maintained constant contact with the SEAL operators to update their positions and status. The rescue operation required split-second timing and flawless coordination. Attack helicopters would suppress enemy positions while transport helicopters moved in to extract the SEAL operators. Sarah had to coordinate the timing of these movements while maintaining contact with the ground forces and providing real-time updates about changing tactical conditions. At 035 hours, Sarah received word that the first extraction attempt was beginning. She watched her monitoring equipment as attack helicopters engaged enemy positions around the SEAL team's location. The sound of explosions and heavy machine gun fire came through her headset as she maintained contact with both the aircrew and the ground forces. The first extraction attempt failed when enemy anti-aircraft fire forced the helicopters to withdraw before they could reach all of the SEAL operators. Sarah received fragmentary reports indicating that 2 operators had been successfully extracted, but the remaining team members were still trapped in increasingly desperate circumstances. Sarah's role became even more critical as she coordinated preparations for a second extraction attempt. She worked with mission commanders to identify alternative approach routes and coordinated with intelligence services to provide updated information about enemy positions. Her detailed logs of previous communications provided valuable intelligence about the tactical situation. The psychological pressure on Sarah was enormous. She could hear the strain and exhaustion in the voices of the SEAL operators as they continued fighting for their lives. Their professional discipline remained intact, but she could detect the underlying desperation as their situation became increasingly hopeless. At 0345 hours, Neptune Bravo 1 transmitted a message that sent chills through everyone in the communications center. Base, this is our last stand. If the next extraction attempt fails, destroy all sensitive equipment and get out. It's been an honor. The transmission trailed off as gunfire intensified around the SEAL's position. Sarah refused to accept defeat. Drawing on every resource available to her, she began coordinating what would be the final rescue attempt. She worked with weather specialists to identify a brief window when atmospheric conditions would be optimal for helicopter operations, coordinated with intelligence analysts to predict enemy movements, and maintain constant contact with the remaining SEAL operators. The complexity of the final rescue operation exceeded anything Sarah had ever handled. She was simultaneously coordinating with attack helicopters, transport helicopters, close air support aircraft, intelligence services, medical personnel, and the SEAL operators themselves. Her workstation resembled a command center as she managed multiple communication streams, and coordinated the various elements of the rescue mission. At 0420 hours, Sarah began coordinating the final extraction attempt.
Attack helicopters moved in first to suppress enemy positions while she provided real-time updates about SEAL locations and enemy movements. Transport helicopters followed precise approach routes that she had helped plan, using terrain features to mask their approach from enemy anti-aircraft weapons. The tension in the communication center was palpable as Sarah maintained contact with all elements of the rescue operation. She could hear the sound of rotors and gunfire through her headset as helicopters maneuvered in the mountainous terrain. Every transmission could be the last contact with the endangered SEAL operators. At 0435 hours, Sarah heard the words she had been praying for. Base, this is Neptune Bravo. 1. All remaining personnel on board extraction bird. We're coming home. The relief in the SEAL's voice was matched by the emotion in Sarah's response as she acknowledged the successful extraction and coordinated the flight path for the returning helicopters. The final phase of the rescue operation involved coordinating medical support for the wounded SEAL operators. Sarah worked with medical personnel at the receiving base to prepare for the helicopter's arrival and relayed information about the types and severity of injuries the team had sustained. Her comprehensive logs provided valuable intelligence for post-mission analysis. As the extraction helicopters safely reached friendly territory, Sarah finally allowed herself to experience the full emotional impact of what she had accomplished. She had been the communication lifeline for one of America's most elite military units during their most desperate hour, coordinating a complex rescue operation that saved the lives of 10 SEAL Team 6 operators. The 12-hour period from the initial enemy contact to the successful extraction had tested every aspect of Sarah's training, experience, and personal courage. She had maintained professional composure while coordinating multiple simultaneous communications under extreme pressure, never allowing her emotions to interfere with her critical duties. In the hours following the successful rescue, Sarah continued coordinating communications for the various support elements returning to their bases. She maintained contact with medical facilities treating the wounded operators, coordinated with intelligence services conducting post-mission analysis, and ensured that all equipment and personnel involved in the rescue were safely accounted for. The communication center gradually returned to its normal operational tempo, but the atmosphere remained charged with the knowledge that they had just participated in one of the most dramatic rescue operations in recent military history. Sarah's role in saving SEAL Team 6 would soon become legendary within the special operations community. Master Sergeant Rodriguez approached Sarah's workstation as her shift neared its end. His usually stern demeanor was replaced by obvious pride and admiration as he reviewed the communication logs from the rescue operation.
The precision and professionalism Sarah had demonstrated under extreme pressure had exceeded even the highest expectations for a special operations radio operator. The official after-action reports would later document Sarah's critical role in the successful rescue of SEAL Team 6. Her ability to maintain communications under adverse conditions, coordinate multiple simultaneous operations, and provide decisive support during the most critical phases of the rescue had been instrumental in preventing what could have been a catastrophic loss of America's most elite warriors. As Sarah prepared to end her shift, she reflected on the events of the past 12 hours. She had begun the night as a radio operator supporting routine military operations.
She was ending it as the person who had coordinated one of the most successful rescue operations in special operations history, proving that heroes come in many forms and that sometimes the most critical battles are fought not with weapons, but with voices, determination, and unwavering professional excellence.
3 weeks after the rescue operation that would define her military career, Sarah Martinez found herself standing in a conference room at the Pentagon, surrounded by some of the highest-ranking officers in the United States military. The meeting had been classified at the highest levels, and she still wasn't entirely sure why her presence was required. The events of that March night had been documented, debriefed, and analyzed, but the full impact of her actions was only beginning to be understood. General Patricia Williams, the Deputy Commander of Special Operations Command, entered the room with an escort of senior officers. Sarah recognized several faces from official photographs, but she had never imagined she would meet these legendary military leaders in person. The general's reputation for excellence and her role in developing modern special operations doctrine made her one of the most respected officers in the military.
The briefing that followed revealed details about the SEAL Team 6 mission that Sarah had not previously known. The operation had been designed to capture or eliminate a high-value terrorist leader who was planning attacks against American interests worldwide. Intelligence had indicated that the target would be at a specific location for only a brief window of time, making the mission extremely time-sensitive.
What intelligence had not revealed was that the terrorist leader had been expecting an American operation. Enemy forces had prepared an elaborate ambush using the mountainous terrain to their advantage. The 12 SEAL operators had walked into a coordinated attack by more than 60 enemy fighters equipped with advanced weapons and communication jamming equipment. The tactical analysis of the rescue operation revealed the critical importance of Sarah's role in the mission's ultimate success. When the enemy jamming equipment disrupted normal communication channels, her technical expertise and creative problem-solving had been the only things preventing a complete communication blackout. Her ability to maintain contact with the scattered SEAL elements had been essential to coordinating their movements and preventing them from being systematically eliminated by superior enemy forces. General Williams explained that Sarah's actions during the rescue operation had been personally reviewed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Secretary of Defense. The complexity of managing simultaneous communications with multiple aircraft, ground units, and intelligence services while under extreme time pressure had demonstrated a level of professional competence that exceeded all expectations for her position and rank.
The general then revealed something that left Sarah speechless.
The 10 SEAL Team 6 operators who had been successfully rescued had submitted a joint recommendation that Sarah receive the Distinguished Service Cross, one of the highest military decorations for extraordinary heroism. The recommendation had been endorsed by every level of command and was being personally approved by the Secretary of Defense. The citation for Sarah's Distinguished Service Cross would read, "For extraordinary heroism while serving as radio operator during combat operations, Sergeant Martinez displayed exceptional courage and professional competence while coordinating the rescue of endangered special operations personnel."
Her actions under enemy fire and extreme time pressure were instrumental in preventing the loss of American lives and the failure of a critical national security mission. The formal presentation ceremony would take place the following month, but General Williams wanted Sarah to understand the broader significance of what she had accomplished.
The successful rescue of SEAL Team 6 had prevented not only the loss of 10 elite operators, but also the compromise of classified information that could have endangered other ongoing operations and intelligence sources. Sarah learned that the terrorist leader targeted in the original mission had been killed during the enemy ambush, eliminating a significant threat to American security. The intelligence gathered from the mission site had also provided valuable information about terrorist networks and their capabilities, contributing to the success of subsequent operations. The SEAL Team 6 operators who had been rescued were recovering from their injuries and had specifically requested to meet with Sarah. The meeting was arranged for the following day, marking the first time Sarah would meet face-to-face with the warriors whose lives she had helped save. The anticipation of this meeting filled her with a mixture of pride and nervousness. Master Chief Petty Officer James Thompson, the senior enlisted member of SEAL Team 6, led the group of operators who met with Sarah. Despite still showing signs of his injuries from the rescue operation, he stood with the bearing and dignity that characterized America's most elite warriors. His handshake was firm, and his eyes reflected a depth of gratitude that words could not adequately express. The conversation with the SEAL operators revealed details about the rescue operation from their perspective. Master Chief Thompson explained how Sarah's voice had been their lifeline during the most desperate hours of the firefight. When they were scattered across the mountainous terrain, unable to communicate with each other, her coordination had been the only thing allowing them to work together as a cohesive unit. Petty Officer First Class Martinez, sharing Sarah's surname but no relation, had been part of the Charlie element that had been cut off from the rest of the team. He described how hearing Sarah's calm, professional voice coordinating their extraction had provided hope during moments when survival seemed impossible. Her ability to maintain composure under extreme pressure had helped keep the SEAL operators focused and fighting when lesser individuals might have given up. The SEALs explained that radio operators like Sarah were often overlooked in discussions of military heroism because their contributions occurred behind the scenes. However, they emphasized that Special Operations Forces understood better than anyone how critical communication support was to mission success and personnel survival. Without dedicated professionals like Sarah, even the most elite military units could not accomplish their missions. The meeting with SEAL Team 6 operators had a profound impact on Sarah's understanding of her role in the military. She had always viewed herself as a support person, important but secondary to the warriors who actually faced enemy fire. The SEALs helped her understand that in modern military operations, the distinction between combat and support roles had become increasingly blurred. Master Chief Thompson presented Sarah with a special SEAL Team 6 challenge coin, a tradition used to recognize exceptional service and dedication. The coin bore the team's official insignia and was inscribed with the date of the rescue operation. He explained that very few people outside of SEAL Team 6 ever received such recognition. making it one of the most meaningful honors Sarah could receive. The challenge coin presentation was followed by individual conversations with several of the SEAL operators. Each man shared his perspective on the rescue operation and explained how Sarah's actions had directly contributed to his survival. These personal accounts helped Sarah understand the human dimension of her professional duties and the real-world impact of excellence in military communications. Returning to her regular duties after the Pentagon meetings and SEAL Team 6 encounter proved challenging for Sarah. The Communications Center continued its normal operations, supporting military units worldwide, but Sarah found it difficult to focus on routine transmissions after experiencing such an intense and meaningful mission. Her supervisors understood this adjustment period and provided additional support as she reintegrated into normal operations. The Distinguished Service Cross presentation ceremony took place on a crisp morning in April, with Sarah's family present to witness the historic event. Her father, the retired Army sergeant who had first recognized her potential in communications, stood with obvious pride as General Williams pinned the medal on his daughter's uniform. The ceremony was attended by senior officers from all military services, emphasizing the significance of Sarah's actions. The citation read during the presentation ceremony detailed Sarah's actions during the SEAL Team 6 rescue operation, without revealing classified information about the mission itself. The language emphasized her extraordinary heroism, professional competence, and dedication to saving American lives under extremely dangerous conditions. The ceremony was recorded for military history archives and would become part of Sarah's permanent military record. Following the medal presentation, Sarah was selected for immediate promotion to Staff Sergeant and offered her choice of assignments anywhere in the military communication system. She chose to remain at her current duty station, continuing to support Special Operations Forces while also serving as an instructor for other radio operators. Her experience and expertise would be used to train the next generation of communication specialists. Sarah's story quickly spread throughout the special operations community, becoming a powerful example of how dedicated support personnel contribute to mission success. Her actions were studied in military leadership courses and used as a case study in communication training programs. She had become a role model for thousands of military communication specialists worldwide. The psychological impact of the rescue operation took months for Sarah to fully process. She worked with military counselors who specialized in helping service members cope with high-stress combat experiences. The counseling helped her understand that experiencing stress reactions after such intense events was normal, and that seeking help demonstrated strength rather than weakness. One of the most meaningful aspects of Sarah's post-rescue experience was the continued contact with SEAL Team 6 operators. Master Chief Thompson maintained regular communication with her, sharing updates about the team's activities and ensuring that she remained connected to the special operations community. These relationships provided Sarah with a support network that understood the unique challenges of military service. Sarah began speaking at military communication schools and professional development courses, sharing her experiences and emphasizing the importance of excellence in support roles. Her presentations focused on the technical aspects of emergency communication procedures, while also highlighting the human element of military service. These speaking engagements helped other service members understand how their individual contributions fit into larger military objectives. The influence of Sarah's story extended beyond military audiences. She was invited to speak at civilian communication conferences and emergency services training programs, sharing lessons learned from military communication operations that could be applied to civilian emergency response. Her expertise became valuable to both military and civilian organizations dealing with crisis communications. The rescue operation had also resulted in significant improvements to military communication equipment and procedures. Sarah worked with technical specialists to identify equipment modifications that could improve performance in mountainous terrain and other challenging environments. Her input was incorporated into new communication systems being developed for Special Operations Forces. 2 years after the rescue operation, Sarah received notification that she had been selected for Officer Candidate School. The recommendation had come from General Williams personally, who believed that Sarah's combination of technical expertise and leadership potential made her an ideal candidate for commissioned officer status. The opportunity represented a significant career advancement and recognition of her exceptional service. The decision to pursue a commission required Sarah to temporarily leave her beloved communications center, but she understood that becoming an officer would allow her to have greater influence on military communication operations. She could help develop policies and procedures that would improve support for Special Operations Forces while also mentoring junior communication specialists. During her final weeks as an enlisted radio operator, Sarah trained her replacement and documented procedures developed during her years of service. Her detailed notes and operational insights would continue benefiting military communication operations long after her departure for officer candidate school. She had created a legacy of excellence that would influence future generations of communication specialists. The farewell ceremony at the Communication Center was attended by representatives from multiple Special Operations units, emphasizing the respect Sarah had earned throughout the Special Operations community. Master Chief Thompson represented SEAL Team 6, presenting Sarah with a plaque commemorating her service and expressing the team's continued gratitude for her life-saving actions. The plaque inscription read, "To Staff Sergeant Sarah Martinez, whose voice guided heroes home and whose courage saved American lives, from the warriors of SEAL Team 6 with eternal gratitude and respect." The presentation was emotional for everyone present, representing the culmination of a military career that had redefined what it meant to serve in a support role. As Sarah prepared to leave for officer candidate school, she reflected on the journey that had brought her from a small Texas town to the center of one of the most dramatic rescue operations in military history. She had discovered that heroism came in many forms, and that the most important battles were sometimes fought not with weapons but with dedication, competence, and an unwavering commitment to protecting fellow service members. The Communication Center, where Sarah had spent 3 transformative years, would continue its mission of supporting military operations worldwide. New operators would take their positions at the radio consoles, maintaining contact with deployed forces and coordinating support for dangerous missions. Some of them would undoubtedly face their own moments of crisis, when their professional skills and personal courage would be tested under extreme pressure. Sarah's story had become part of the Communication Center's culture, inspiring new operators to strive for the highest levels of professional excellence. Her example demonstrated that every position in the military, regardless of how routine it might seem, had the potential to make a critical difference in the success of operations and the safety of personnel. The broader military community had also embraced Sarah's story as an example of how individual excellence could impact national security operations. Her actions during the SEAL Team 6 rescue had contributed to the elimination of a significant terrorist threat while preserving the lives of some of America's most valuable military assets. The ripple effects of her professionalism would continue influencing military operations for years to come. As Sarah Martinez left the Communication Center for the final time as an enlisted radio operator, she carried with her the knowledge that she had proven herself worthy of the trust placed in her by America's most elite warriors. She had been just the radio operator until the moment when heroes needed a hero, and she had risen to meet that challenge with courage, skill, and unwavering dedication. Her voice would no longer be heard on the Special Operations communication channels, but her legacy would continue inspiring others to pursue excellence in service to their country. Sarah Martinez had demonstrated that in the modern military, every service member has the potential to become a hero when duty calls and courage answers. Her story would be remembered as proof that the most unlikely heroes often emerge from the shadows when everything is on the line, and that sometimes the most powerful weapon in the military arsenal is the voice of someone who refuses to give up on bringing heroes home. She was just the radio operator until SEAL Team 6 took a hit.